Oh, I'm live. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I am today, I want to welcome you all who are watching on replay. And if you happen to have any issues hearing me, please let me know because long story short, but I'm having microphone issues these days. Some of you can tell. Sometimes, the mics are working, sometimes they're not. Um, I think I need to switch systems, but that's okay. We'll make it through today. So again, if you can hear me, or if you're having issues hearing me at any point, because I am outside on my porch. So if you can hear me at any point in time, if you cannot hear me, let me know. Definitely let me know. And I am coming to you this morning. It is election day. And I really want to have a conversation. Again, I'm going to be trying to pay attention to my notes, hear the comments. So if you are unable to hear me, let me know. Please, please, please. If you hop on and you can't hear me, say, hey, I can't hear you. And then I'll figure out what to do about my mic system. All right. So what I want to talk to you guys about today is common in industry. Pretty much everything I do, I look at the who, what, when, why, and where. Right. So if you're gonna start a project, it's always who, what, when, why, and where. And when you break those things down, then you pretty much have everything covered, right? You can get into timeline, you can get into everything else to do with whatever it is you're working on, right? So if you're working on planning a wedding, it's who, what, when, why, and where. So who, what, when, why, and where is kind of, you know, I'm gonna say how I notes to live by. So in today's live, I'm going to talk to you guys about two things. I'm going to talk to you about the who, what, when, why, and where of the election today. And I know that these conversations are not easy to have and it's not, you know, salacious, but it is so important. And I'm going to hopefully talk to you guys about why it's so important. Who we're voting for, what we're voting about, when is the vote, why are we voting, and where to vote at. So by the end of this live, I will have all of those things covered. And then also I am going to talk to you about there's a city council meeting tonight. 5:30 at City Hall, and some folks are still coming at 6 because it's been 6 o'clock forever. But now it's moved to 5:30. So yeah, so it's at 5:30 at City Hall tonight, and I will break down what's going to be on that agenda for you. So let's talk about the what. So the who, what, when, why, and where of today's election. Let's talk about what it is that we are voting for. And then when I talk to who, I'm going to talk to you about like in which capacity. Because in government, we have local government, we have state government, we have federal government, right? And then there's all these, county and all this other stuff that's kind of in between. And everybody has their lane, right? Whether it's school board or whatever, everybody has their lane. But this primary right here is I'm going to give you some things that we're voting for. And when you tell me that your vote don't matter, you tell me that these things don't matter. So we are voting for increasing the minimum wage. So essentially, right now, the minimum wage in federal is $7.25 an hour. So the federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. The state of South Carolina has not adopted a minimum wage. So because they've not adopted the minimum wage, your employer can pay you as low as $7.25 an hour and still be legal. Now, I've been to other states where the minimum wage is $15 an hour, $17 an hour, and up because that's what it takes. Now, keep in mind, the cost of living in those states is indeed higher. However, the $7.25 an hour minimum wage has been that for way too long. way too long. For I want to say, I don't want to get it wrong, but I've been doing this work since 2016, so that's at least 10 years. So 10 years before that, so I think it's fair to say decades. And um, there was a woman when I first decided to run for office, and she was dying. She was on her deathbed, and she came to me. She asked me to come to her, and I did through a family member. And she told me her story about how she worked all her life at a factory and that she never made more. I think she never made more than $8 an hour. And she asked me, and I'm serious about this, I'm going back to my notes, on her deathbed, to please do something about it. And, that is really what became my increase the wage um, heart of the campaign, still to this day. So you may say, well, I'm doing fine. I'm making well more than minimum wage. I'm making $20 an hour. But is it right for our young people to start out at such low wages? And there is even a candidate for a billionaire candidate for governor who said he thinks wages should be $12 an hour. And why is that? No one can live off of that. It's still poverty wages. The other thing on the what are we voting for? We are voting for federal support and funding. Okay. So I'm going to give you a couple examples. If you've seen, there's been a lot going on about Representative Clyburn and how he brought so many billions in resources to the state of South Carolina. Well, I'm going to give you a specific example. If you ever use Healthcare Partners, that beautiful building, they have um, dentistry, uh, $5 prescriptions, OB/GYN, GYN, primary care in a beautiful facility. They got buses. Well, guess what? That's federal support, right? From the city of Mullins, we have reached out to our delegation for support for things that we need, right? We need a new fire station. If you would be it would make you very sad if you saw how our heroes are having the buildings and the facilities that they need to use. Mission Mullins is actually here in town. So if you see people that don't look like they're from here and they're doing work, that's what they're doing. They do great mission work. And I was talking to a woman yesterday, and she told me about, I've been inside the fire department, but they have living quarters, so I don't go so far. But she told me about the conditions, the roofing conditions. It's bad, right? So again, what we're voting for. So I'm telling you what we're voting for. So if any of this stuff you don't care about, then you don't care about housing. All right. So you guys, when I talk to you, you talk to me about, hey, we need housing. I can't afford housing. There's no living wage housing around here. There's no new housing that's been built. So what? I'm gonna go to Florence where they have housing. Right. So housing. So let me tell you about, there's all different kinds of housing. We have you know, there is low income housing, and then there is workforce housing. The first month I was in office, I presented a plan to city council that would have brought brand new apartments to the city of Mullins. The city of Mullins would not have to pay a thing. This was federal money, or maybe state, but it was not the city of Mullins money. Would not have to pay a thing. And it was workforce housing, and the average rents would have been $600 a month. 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, two bathrooms, beautiful brand new home, beautiful landscaping, $600 a month. Why $600 a month, you say? So that you could take your money and do the things you need to do for your family. So that you could take your money and shop in Mullins. So that you could take your money and go to the restaurants. Every time you go to the restaurants in Mullins, the city of Mullins gets a percentage of that. Every single time that you pay your car tax, city of Mullins, right? So it behooves us to have some place for you to stay. So if you don't care about housing, then okay. So we've covered housing, we've covered federal support and funding, i.e., we've got the We've got the fire department and also trucks, right? So we know that we need new fire trucks, our fire, not fire trucks, I'm sorry, new public works trucks. It just if you see our public workers and they are, picking up trash, they are a part of our hero team supporting Mullins, right? Especially if it's hot, give them some water. Could you look and see they got the windows rolled down? Why? Those trucks are old. Those trucks do not have air conditioning. So we need to support. Um, Opportunity. We need jobs, right? So I have been working on this, and there's some things that I can't tell you right now, but I've been working on this, and it's interesting. I've been going to economic development emporiums, and getting information about how to build economic development. And there's a couple things they tell me. They say rooftops bring retail. Okay, so what's that mean? That means we need housing. If we get housing, then we could put more people on our main street. People, because the retail, right? If we have housing, more people are going to need places to eat, places to shop. And so your retail folks, they look at how many people. Well, guess what's happening in Mullins and in Marion County? I'm not going to just say Mullins. I'm going to say Marion County. More people are leaving. We need more people to stay. Our young people, when they're graduating from high school, they have no incentive to stay unless they're going to stay in their mama's house. They can't get a job and pay rent someplace, and there's no available housing. Right? So this is all about what are we voting for? So again, tell me if you don't think that you have a reason to vote. Cutting of SNAP benefits. Now, you may not particularly use SNAP, but let me tell you, the very basics of people eating, children eating, is so important to our ecosystem, to our ability to live in peace and harmony with each other. Where do we think poverty comes from? There's nobody who should go without food. And my background and what I do for a living with Pick 42 Foundation, we focus on food, fitness, and fun. And how dare elected officials anywhere in DC, in Columbia, even put taking food out of the mouths of babes on the table. So that's what we're voting for. We're voting for the restoration of healthcare benefits. I talked to a lot of people who used to be on Obamacare, but they're not on Obamacare anymore. Why? Because the subsidies have been cut. You can't afford it. People used to have free healthcare. Free healthcare. That's what we're voting for. And again, these are not handouts. This is just what we had, what's been taken away from us, right? Um, Businesses, right? So you have a business, so you have an idea, because everybody is not meant to work for somebody. Some people have boss leadership mentality. And if you have that, I'm gonna go back to my comments a little bit. Make sure cutting is the first step. Isaac Wilson. Then at school, yeah, I'm gonna put that up. Isaac, I'm gonna get back with you in a second. So, oh shoot, what was I talking about? I was talking about food. I'm gonna come back to it. Hold a second. This is what Isaac Wilson says. Cutting of stamps is the first step. Then there's school lunch and after school programs. Those are the only means that some of our kids have to eat for the day, and that's tragic. And Isaac, that is so true. That is so true. And why is that? It's because of poverty, right? So these are the reasons why we're voting. We're voting for school lunch. And let me tell you, Performing Arts and Sciences Academy, it's led by CEO Justine Roberts, and she is literally feeding the entire PD. And those are government grants. And if they dry up, then we won't have these feeding programs. She is providing at Pick 42 on Tuesdays, you can come and you can pick up, and also at McGill's and Marion, you could come and you could pick up food for 7 days now for your children. Right? We're delivering food. We're delivering 328 boxes of food for 7 days. Will be delivered to the more rural parts of our county. That's Grisham, Britton's Neck, Rains, Nichols, right? 328 boxes of food are being delivered for food for a week for 328 children, and we'll be up to 400 by the end of next week. Children that are receiving this food, right? So it's not like it's not necessary. And if you've seen poverty, when people say they don't have no food, they mean they don't have any food at all. Businesses. Oh, this is what I was talking about, right? Some of us have a dream and we want to um, own our own business, right? We want to operate in our own business. And I tell you, um, is you got to do it legally. And I had a friend when I was in corporate and me and my husband was first starting in business. Her name is Crystal. And we were very close friends. And she told me, she says, listen, if you're gonna be in business, you need two things. You need an accountant and an attorney. And she's so right, right? I have learned that. And so part of being legal and having your business in South Carolina is you have to go through the Secretary of State. And a lot of it is online. It's some of it's very challenging. You don't get this right, you don't get that right. Well, if you live in Columbia, you can just go up to the office and schedule an appointment. Well, there's a candidate that I'm gonna tell you about that has an idea of putting Secretary of State offices in every DMV. Dang, y'all. That's going to help. Like, this gentleman really has a mind to help businesses and specifically rural communities, right? So, you know, since I've been here in 2019, I have went out my way to bring people that will listen to us in rural communities. Now, some of you sit there and say, well, Mika, what makes you an authority or blah, blah, blah. Well, let me tell you this is that I left corporate America in 2019 to do this work, to do nonprofit work. And you all may not spend all your time uh, vetting candidates, going all across the state to where they are, telling them that they need to come to War America, specifically Marion County and Mullins, getting involved with the Democratic Party. Well, that's what I did. So you don't have to. And so on this platform and on my other social media pages, I'm sharing that with you. So those who don't agree with me, you don't have to agree with me. I'm just giving you the information. I'm just giving you the information. So Republican or Democrat, we're Marion County first. And we have needs. And you can keep electing in those folks that are your friends, your buddy, they're your friends, your buddies, somebody that knows somebody's, and they're not qualified. Who vetted them? Who vetted them? And then one thing we can learn by the president that we have right now is you got to listen to what people are saying. If they say it, they're going to do it. Nancy Mace, is that her name? No, Pam Everett is saying she's going to defund South Carolina State. So what do you think's going to happen when she get elected? Seriously, y'all. And I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to come back to that. So so far, I want to cover the who, what, when, why, and where of elections, right? So on the what, and this is some of them, I can go on, but we don't have all that time. I covered increasing the state minimum wage, housing, federal support and funding, economic development. Rooftops brings retail. Rooftops brings retail. Retail brings opportunity. It's a circle. So we have to address housing, right? We have to address these things. And for those who want to criticize me personally, well, why are you working on this? Why are you talking about this? You can do that. Well, guess what? We can eat and chew gum we can walk and chew gum at the same time. As long as we are working together, stronger together. So we can't let cultural things kind of get us all, oh, I don't like her because of her hair color, or she's not from here. Whatever. It's about all of us working together. Um, rooftops brings retails, cutting the SNAP benefits, restoring of healthcare and businesses. We're going to talk about the South Carolina supermajority. So you're in South Carolina. Um, I'm in South Carolina. I've lived in New Jersey and in North Carolina before. In South Carolina, the Republicans have a super majority, which is They have the House, they have the Senate, and they have the governor. So I've been here for 10 years, since 2016. And I came here, I was pulled here from the hurricanes. I'd never seen such devastation before in my life. And I knew that I had to do everything I could to help my friends and neighbors recover. One thing turned into another, then comes another hurricane in 2018, and I'm here. So I ain't seen anything change. I haven't seen an increase in minimum wage, even though I've been talking about it personally on my platform since 2019. We are very slow to repair people's houses. I had a abandoned house just burned down across the street from me the other day, 2 days ago, in the middle of the night. Homelessness, you said we don't have homelessness. Yes, we do. People are living in these abandoned homes. So I don't see anything's changing. So what do we want to do? There's two things. One, if you're voting Republican, have at it. You think that they're doing a good job because they've had control for decades now. And I haven't seen anything change. Now, if you're voting Democrat, let's talk. Now, if you're not voting, if you're telling me that you're not going to vote, then guess what? You voted Republican because your voice isn't being heard. A no vote is a vote. So look around you. Are you okay? I'm not okay with the abandoned houses. I ran for mayor. And I ran for mayor because I wanted beautification of our city, economic development, and housing. So I'm looking around. I'm not happy. Are you? Do you feel like when our kids who work so hard to graduate from high school, that they have an equal opportunity when they go someplace? Or we live in a state, and I'm gonna get to the why next. That I spent a lot of time on the what. I hope it was helpful. We live in a state where the number one place people are moving to. So no matter, you're all 50 states, right? 49 other states. When you rank them up, number one place people are coming is South Carolina. And I thank our South Carolina Department of Commerce because they did a lot to make that happen, right? The number one county that people are coming to is Horry County, Myrtle Beach, not Charleston, not Georgetown, the number one county right next to us. So for my friends and family that don't know, we bump up against Horry County. I can get to Horry County just like that. Now, why is it in a state that everybody wants to move to and next to a county that is the fastest growing in the nation? I live in a city. I'm the mayor of a city where people are leaving faster than they could possibly can. We got to do something. We have to do something. Sure, at work, I have been giving information flyers to Democratic candidates and urging people. Thank you so much, Cher. Thank you so much. So, talked about the what. Let's go to the why. And I hope you guys will be okay because the why is going to be a little bit deep. Because I hear this all the time. My vote doesn't matter. Yes, your vote matters. Oh, look, there's the fire department going over there. They're still putting out the fire 3 days. Thank you so much to the heroes. 3 days to put out a fire that was set in an abandoned home. What do you think that's going to do to my insurance? All right, so let me talk about the why. This is heavy for me because, here we are in 2026. And in 1964, a young and very attractive to me, Martin Luther King, um, worked tirelessly to say, how are we going to change our outcomes? Slavery ended in 1865, so that would have been 60, maybe 100. It was 100 years. Oh yeah, it would have been 100 years. Slavery ended in 1865, and then this is 1964, right? 1964, and with the height of the civil rights movement. And it's been 100 years, and we didn't have people in elected positions. The The living conditions for African Americans was poor. The segregation was horrible, right? You know, in terms of us having access, we couldn't sit in the front of the bus. We had to go to movie theaters, had to sit differently. If you look in South Carolina, and so some of my friends in North Carolina and New Jersey, every main street in South Carolina, and I've been looking at this when I go to main streets, they all have doors in the back. Like, you know, that's where we went. People who look like me, you couldn't walk down Main Street and go shop. You had to come in the back. So that's what, and that's not that long ago. So we're talking about 1964. And Martin Luther King was like, this ain't right. And we can do this through nonviolence. And we need to empower our people. And folks from the north came down and they was like, yeah, this ain't right. We gotta help. Right? What happened to Martin? He was arrested, he was jailed, he was beaten, dogs, water, all that, right? Then you have women that stood up in the fight, right? Fannie Lou Hamer. Fannie Lou Hamer, this woman, she said she traveled 26 miles in 1964. She had no car. There was no flight, no bus. She doing 26 miles to register to vote, to come back, to be threatened, to be beaten. You think she cared? No, she was going to do it. People, this is not to vote. This is just to register to vote. And if you read more stories, you read about people who a whole town got abused because one person voted. Right? This was major. And why? Because your vote is the most powerful thing that you have. And when we stand together, we can't be beat. There's things I want to do for you guys, for the city. I can't do it. I can't do it because I don't have the vote. I need you all to give me the vote. These things I talk about can happen. I'm telling you. John Lewis. John Lewis coming across the bridge had his head skull cracked in. He went in. He then went on to become a congressman and to write the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Why? Because John Lewis saw what was happening. He's since passed away. But what happened in 2013? Okay, so Martin Luther King, Fannie Lou Hamer, John Lewis, the young Reverend Jesse Jackson. These were all young people. Martin Luther King was young. Um, and so when young people say you don't have a, why am I going to vote? These are young. These are young people. Jesse Jackson was young. John Lewis was young. Fannie Lou Hamer, I'm not sure how old she was, but she looked to be maybe older than a bunch. I don't know. Some of you guys out there should know. Um, so these were young people that said this cannot happen. And guess what? They made a difference. They made a difference. They involved economics too, right? Because that's what's going to talk to folks. But they made a difference. And in 1965, we got the Voting Rights Act. And in 1966, we got, was it the Fair Housing Act? Civil Rights Act. Oh, I don't want to get it wrong, but I'm going to talk about the Voting Rights Act because it's a voting day. In 1965, we got the Voting Rights Act. And that Voting Rights Act protected African Americans and other minorities and women's access and right to vote. So when I say, hey, look, moving our elections from November to April, you know, that impacts our voices. And people say to me, nobody's right to vote is impacted. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because people vote in November. We've been voting in November for 30 years. But I digress. Let me get back to today. But elections have consequences. So when I come back to today, in 1966, 65, that Voting Rights Act is what protected the city of Mullins in 2004. They could not move our election in 2004 because of the Voters' Rights Act. But in 2013, our Supreme Court overturned the section that protected us. Now look. Then what happened this year, 2026? There was another section of the Voting Rights Act that the Supreme Court struck down. That's where redistricting and all of that mess came from. And it's not done. If we do not vote and vote our interests, we will lose. And this is the worst part, is that we will leave, because we're not going to be here forever. I know some of you that are watching are my age or a little bit younger, but guess what? We got an end date, and we owe it to our children, our grandchildren. They don't know. They don't know about the Voting Rights Act. They don't know about what has happened. They don't know about this stuff. And we're going to leave them in the worst situation. Now, I am so grateful for Mullins and the people that voted for me and the people that voted for Robert Woodbury, because that was real, that was change. 150 years worth of change. But now I need you. Robert Woodbury's legacy needs you. In order to do the things that Robert Woodbury has asked me to finish, doesn't make no sense that we don't have a splash pad that's open right now, but I digress. And we'll come back to that another day. Because I gotta keep it moving. So the why, right? So the why. Let me go back to my comments in a little bit. Um, I've talked to you about the what. What are we voting for? Housing, jobs, right? Food. The why. When people say that people have died, that's true. Like that is so true. And it wasn't even it was like not too long ago when a former mayor posted something on his page about a loud noise, and then one of his folks commented on it. Oh, that must have been the mayor getting her mail. So this is how they're talking about me, about joking about bombs in my mailbox. This is today. This is 2026. You think that former mayor took that post down? No, not at all. But guess what? I'm all good. I'm all good. So when we talk about we want change, and I need you, I need you, I need you to vote. I know that was all heavy. From Fanny to Martin to Jesse to Ralph Abernathy, to Jessica Simpkins. These people, they didn't do what they did for no reason. All right, let me go to the comments, y'all. Hold on one second. And then I got two more things. Um, let's see. Cher says, I hear that so much I get emotional about that because as a woman, we are being stripped of our rights and worked as the president of human rights organization. Oh, okay, she worked for a president of organization for 14 years, and she knows the power of people of our vote. And I hope to change the minds of folk. Thank you so much, Cher. Yeah, I mean, because I get it, because people don't live and breathe what we live and breathe. And truthfully, I didn't think I would be doing this. I really didn't. I thought God had another plan for me, but I love it, and I wouldn't change a thing about the path that got me here. And Cher, I know you wouldn't either. What we're just asking for is for people to just. We can't make you vote. I'm begging you to vote. We can't make you vote. Let's see. Virginia says, "Thank you for giving us information. So sad that we have city council that won't work." Oh, okay, yeah. um, we thought we went back to business as usual. Went back to the drawing board. Come back stronger. We must stop the temporary victories. Yeah, that's deep, Naeem. That is true, right? They were temporary I don't know, right? They were temporary victories because we didn't fight to hold on to it. Like John Lewis, when he was alive, he created the John Lewis Voting Rights Act because he saw what was happening. But we didn't support him. When I say we didn't support him, we didn't vote to send people to DC that was going to help pass that bill, right? We didn't vote to send people to the Columbia that was going to make sure that we had a crime bill in the state of South Carolina, right? We didn't do our part. So Naeem, so that goes back to the most powerful weapon that we have is indeed our vote, right? It's our vote. But yeah, thank you for that. That's deep. All right, so let me go back to the I did the I did the why. I did the why. I did the what. We were talking about the who, what, when, and why and where of today's election. Okay. So I'm gonna go to the who. Oh shoot, I gotta upload it again. All right. So on the who, let me just get it for you. Hold on one second. Because I want to break down these folks that are running and the positions that they're running for. And how it relates to some of those other things that I shared, right? So on the who, first person there is Brandon Brown. Brandon Brown is running, and these are my picks. Here's somebody who's running against. I'm not going to talk about the people they're running against. I'm going to talk about why. Um, I'm going to talk about how Brandon Brown meets the what. So this who person is Brandon Brown. He's saying I'm going to run um, for Senate against Lindsey Graham. And if you follow anything, you know Lindsey Graham is not good for South Carolina. And he's been there forever. So he's got to go. So Brandon Brown's, when he wins today, he's going to run against Lindsey. And so Brandon Brown, I've had personal conversations with him about increasing the minimum wage because we can't get the state of South Carolina to increase the state minimum wage, right? But if it increases at the federal level, it trickles down to us. So if the federal level changes minimum wage to $15 an hour, then we will have to do it in the state of South Carolina. We'll have no choice. When you talk about federal support, now, Brandon has been to all 46 counties. Brandon recognizes that the rural communities matter. When have you ever seen Lindsey Graham in Marion County? They don't care. Let me tell you why they don't care. Because the numbers show that they don't think they have to care. Because they could take Charleston, Columbia, Greenville, put all of us together, and we wouldn't number up to any one of those. But our votes matter, and our votes is going to be what puts Brandon Brown over. But you got to go and vote for him. Talk about support for federal, right? I said, hey, look, we need a fire station, and we need trucks and stuff like that. Police need body cams and all these things to keep us safe. Well, there's funding out there, but you got to kind of get on the list. And Brandon knows Mullins. Brandon knows Marion County because he's been here. He knows us. So that's Brandon Brown. So he's one of my who's. Another one of my who's and one of my comments. Make sure I don't miss you guys. Um, Another one of my who's is, oh, you're welcome, Cher, is Jermaine Johnson. Now, here's the funny thing. When you think about kind of what happened, how God brings people into your life. I first met Jermaine Johnson when I was a Clyburn Fellow. That was in 2019. I was a Clyburn Fellow in 2019. And him and I were in the same class. We literally sat side by side. And it's funny, and I don't know if Jermaine wants me to share this, but I'm gonna share it. It's funny when both of us decided to run for state house coming up, because when you go through the fellowship, they don't invest that time and resource in you. They want you to run for office or support campaigns or do something in the political arena. They train us very well. So I at first had thought I was going to be a campaign manager because I'm very detail oriented. And then I was like, you know what? I'm working on disaster recovery and increasing the minimum wage. And that's what I need to put forth my foot for. So that's why I ran for office. And Jermaine Johnson, he ran for office at the same time, out the same class. He won, I did not. But Jermaine, I never forget, he called me one time because they would, clown me a little bit because I'm always had my laptop, my iPad, and I was always taking notes in class. But yes, he did ask me for my notes when he ran his first election. But that being said, when Jermaine won, he never forgot me, my community, and I can't speak for any other the fellows, but I know Jermaine would come to Marion County. Jermaine was somebody that we can call on. Jermaine was somebody that we can ask for advice on. And Jermaine knows Marion County. Now, can you say that about anybody else running? Have they been here? Do they know Marion County? Do they know 76? Do they know the issues that we're having with abandoned houses? And I already told you about the supermajority. That needs to change. And here's the thing about Jermaine that I love is that he's a proven track record of working across the aisle, right? So we have a supermajority now. So we go from a supermajority to not a supermajority because we got to send some Democrats into the state house, y'all. But having the governor is going to create balance. It's going to create balance. And he had some competitors, and I'm not going to talk about his competitors because I think that Jermaine is the most qualified. Sylvia Wright. Sylvia Wright, man, I met her when she first ran. She came to Mullins. I don't even know how she got my name, but she came to Mullins and she said, I'm gonna run for superintendent. I was like, okay, who are you? And what is your campaign platform, right? And she was just a normal person, and she was telling me about her background in education and her passion. And after that, like during her run, I had went on to become a fellow of the Hunt Institute fellows around education. And so I was getting all this more information on education and coming back and bouncing it off of her. And I was like, man, this woman is exciting. She really does care about education. Now she says that South Carolina is 43 in education. 43, right? So our state is 43. So when you send your kids to another state to go to school, do whatever, their education is 43 out of 50. And the ones that are below us are other places in the South, right? So she has a vision. She says, we're going to be number one. And then I'm like, number one? She said, we're going to be in the top 10. And she has been talking and researching and doing things to while she's running for office to make that happen. Some of the stuff that she has put on her platform in terms of Arizona and the different states that she's looking at are states that we studied in the Hunt Institute. So I'm just real excited about that. And really, really excited about that. And so that is Sylvia Wright. Jason Belton. So remember I told you earlier when we was talking about the what's, like some of us just have boss vibes. We want to run our own business. We want to have our own business, but it's difficult to figure out the paperwork and how you get incorporated and how do you do your annual returns if you're a nonprofit and how do you, if you want to run a raffle, it's like all this stuff. Well, Jason says he's going to put a Secretary of State office in the DMVs. We all have access to that. And y'all and the other states that watch my show, let me tell you, DMV down here is awesome because there's no lines. There's no lines, right? DMV, any place else I've lived has been like, pull your hair out. No. So his idea of putting the Secretary of State offices in DMVs where people can actually get access to their services is amazing. So I really, truly love that. And Vincent Cole, and here's the funny thing about Vincent, is he was he didn't even know I was in the room. I went to an event in Florence. I think it was the Florence fundraiser, Democratic Party. And he was in the room and he stood up and he said, I'm going to run for state treasurer. And I'm announcing it right now. No fanfare, no bunch of people around him. This man just had a passion. And he said, this is what he's going to do. And he has been to Marion County. He came when Mark Kelly came that time. And he told us about his vision and, all the money that is in South Carolina and how he would better manage it. Let's put it that way. And there's some pretty bad things that are going on. So we definitely need better management. So going back to these are the folks. And then I have not got to meet her yet, but it's Tiffany Bouger, and she has reached out. I just have not had a chance to meet her yet. But these folks I have met, not just met, I spent hours and hours and hours with them. They're not me, right? Don't judge them on me. So if you don't like me, don't say because you don't like me, you're not going to vote for them. Judge them based on their skills and qualifications and the fact that they were here. That means they know to answer the phone call. right? So when you, wherever you are in the county, your county rep needs something and they call one of these people, they're like, oh yeah, Marion County, I've been there, I know that. How's that Garden Alley doing? Right? So it's important that we elect qualified people that know us. And then on the who, man, this is my baby boy. And I have 4 children, 3 boys. He's the youngest of the boys. And there's a 10-year gap between him and his older brothers. And I really, really, really didn't want him to do this because I got into it with my heart, right? I was like, oh my goodness, I see these things that need to be done better. And I know I have this corporate background, I have this IT experience, I'm a planner, I'm a manager, I want to help, right? And that's why I did it. And then it's hard, right? You going out to help people and they're listening to other people that are saying horrible things about me and my family or trying to do us harm, joking about putting bombs in our mailbox and stuff like that, right? That's my reality. And so my son comes to me and he says, oh, I want to run for county council, mom. I said, please don't. And the more I talked to him, I knew that he's a young man, he's 26 years old. I knew that he had that fire that I had. And there was nothing I was going to say that was going to change his mind. So I stopped talking. I said, I love you and I support you, son. I support you wholeheartedly. It's not about a picket thing. This is what my son wanted to do. He got involved in the data center, what was happening there. He's been involved with the Young Dems and the Democratic Party. He is the first second generation Clyburn Fellow ever. So he completed his Clyburn Fellowship. I didn't help him get in. He didn't even tell me that he was applying, you know? So if you are in District 5, I implore you to go vote for my son today. His name is Darius Pickett. Now, I will say this. At the end of the day, whether it's Darius or his opponent that wins, when this vote is counted, we're all one. Because come November, we have to run against a Republican for this seat. And we're going to need to be strong, right? So the primaries are for the Democrats and the Republicans to figure out who their candidate is going to be. But when the last vote is cast at 7 o'clock p.m. today, whoever the winners are have 100% my support. 100%. And we're going to go as hard as we can to make sure that they get elected. All right, so let me see if I have any comments. Let's see, it's a long one from Naeem. We do every time we get lost in celebration, go on how to replan and holds back again. Our young adults need to fight and mobilize. We need to reach young adults. Yes. And and maybe part of that, Naeem, is electing young folk. It's funny, I didn't even know that was coming up. Your comment was coming up, but electing young folk. All right, let me see. I'm almost done. And then I'm gonna come back and do a separate one for the city council meeting, okay? I know this was long. If you're watching it on replay, I appreciate you doing it. I implore you to go vote. Go vote, go vote, go vote, go vote. Please go vote. And if you need a ride to vote, here you go. There's folks that will take you to go vote. All right. So let me get back to my notes. And then I promise you, I'm going to close up. I'm going to hang up and I'm going to come back in just about the city council meeting. So when today? Today's the last day. Today is the very last day. The very last day for you to vote. No more excuses. The polls are open till 7 o'clock p.m. and that would be your normal voting place. If you're not registered to vote, also call that number 843-977-2266. We will get you registered to vote because in November we need everybody, no matter what happens today, no matter what happens today in our primary. This is part of the democratic process. We need everybody in November. The Democratic Party will have a slate of candidates tonight. Some people may be in runoffs, but we should have a slate of candidates tonight. All right. So please, please, if you need a ride, we'll take you. Here's the number 843-977-2266. If you don't need a ride, if you just vote. Hopefully, we talked about the who, what, when. Who we talked about, the what we talked about, the when is today, the why Martin, Fanny, John, and the where is going to be your voting place. All right. So you don't go to the admin building today because that's early vote. That's out. You go to your polling location. And if you need to know your polling location, you can also call that number and they will help you with your polling location as well as getting a ride. So I hope this has been informative. I am going to hang up and I'll be right back. And we're going to talk about the city council meeting and the agenda that is tonight at 5:30 at Mullins City Hall. Have a good one, everybody.